Day 9, the power of self-discipline. Building the bridge between goals and accomplishments. They say motivation gets you started, but here's the ugly truth. Motivation dies the second life gets hard. That's why so many people quit, fail, and settle for mediocrity. The real secret weapon? Self-discipline. It doesn't care about your mood, excuses, or comfort zone. Discipline forces you to show up when your mind screams stop. It's the invisible chain separating winners from the weak. Every time you give in to laziness, you're training your brain to accept failure. But when you master discipline, you hold the power to bend your life, your habits, and your future to your will. Part 1. Self-discipline is a silent strength that turns dreams into reality. Self-discipline is often misunderstood, and because of that, most people fail to embrace it. They think discipline is about restriction, punishment, or living a boring life without joy. But the truth is far more powerful. Self-discipline is a quiet force that shapes every great achievement, the invisible bridge between your goals and the results you crave. Without it, even the brightest dreams collapse under the weight of inconsistency. With it, even the smallest steps add up to transformation so big they feel almost impossible. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times have you started something with fire in your heart, whether it was a workout plan, a new business idea, or even the simple intention to wake up earlier, and then slowly watch your excitement fade away? It wasn't because the goal was impossible. It wasn't because you lacked talent. It was because you leaned too heavily on motivation, and motivation is fragile. It comes and goes like the weather, changing with your moods, your circumstances, and your energy levels. But discipline is different. It doesn't care about feelings. It doesn't wait for the right time. It doesn't ask if you're in the mood. It simply commands you to act, and in that action lies the power to change your life. The real problem is that most people fear discipline because it feels uncomfortable. Waking up when your body wants to sleep in is uncomfortable. Saying no to instant gratification when you want to indulge is uncomfortable. Choosing to push through when your friends are relaxing is uncomfortable. But here's the paradox. That very discomfort is what makes discipline so powerful. Growth never happens inside the bubble of comfort. It only happens when you step out, when you push yourself, when you break the patterns that keep you stuck. Discipline is a hand that drags you out of that bubble and forces you into the territory of growth. And over time, what once felt like punishment begins to feel like freedom. You see, discipline is not about controlling you. It's about setting you free. Without discipline, you are a slave to your impulses. You let cravings decide what you eat. You let laziness decide how you use your time. You let fear decide whether you take action. But with discipline, you take back control. You no longer bow to your moods. Your moods bow to you. You no longer live at the mercy of circumstances. You shape them. Self-discipline is the ultimate form of self-respect because it proves that you care enough about your future to do what your present self doesn't feel like doing. Let's face it, every single person wants success. But wanting is cheap. Anyone can want. What separates achievers from dreamers is a willingness to suffer for it. And discipline is exactly that. The willingness to do what's necessary, even when it hurts. That's why you'll notice something strange about people who live with discipline. At first, they seem to be making sacrifices. They are saying no to parties. They're waking up earlier. They're working longer hours. But then, over time, you notice they have more freedom than anyone else. They are financially freer because they put in the work. They are physically freer because they didn't let their health slip. They are mentally freer because they train their minds to obey their goals instead of their cravings. Discipline feels like chains in the short term, but in the long term, it breaks every chain that holds you back. Now, imagine two people with the exact same dream. Both want to get fit. The first one relies on motivation. He feels excited in the beginning, buys the right clothes, downloads an app, maybe even hits the gym for a week or two. But when the excitement fades, when the soreness kicks in, when work gets busy, he starts skipping sessions. Before long, the dream dies quietly, and he convinces himself it was never meant to be. The second person has the same dream, but instead of relying on motivation, he builds discipline. He doesn't wait to feel like working out. He simply goes day after day, whether it's raining, whether he's tired, whether his mind whispers excuses. At first, progress is slow, but then results start showing, habits get stronger, And eventually, what felt hard becomes automatic. Who do you think reaches their goal? The one who relied on motivation, or the one who built discipline? The answer is obvious, and the lesson is simple. Motivation may spark the fire, but discipline keeps it burning. Self-discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The first time you resist temptation, it feels hard. The first time you wake up early, it feels like torture. The first time you push through exhaustion, your mind screams at you to quit. But every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're training yourself, rewiring your brain, building mental toughness. Slowly, the things that once felt impossible begin to feel natural. You no longer have to fight with yourself as much because you created a new identity, an identity of someone who follows through no matter what. An identity is the most powerful motivator there is. It's important to understand that discipline is not about giant, heroic acts. It's about small, consistent actions done over and over again. Anyone can push themselves hard for a day or two, but the ones who succeed are the ones who show up every day, even if it's just for a little. 10 push-ups a day may not seem like much, but over a year, it adds up to thousands. Reading 10 pages may feel small, but in a year, you've consumed dozens of books. Saving just a little money may not seem life-changing, but with time, it grows into security. The secret is not intensity. The secret is consistency, and consistency is only possible with discipline. What makes discipline even more powerful is that it spills into every area of your life. If you discipline yourself in one area, it strengthens you in others. For example, if you discipline yourself to wake up early, you naturally start managing your time better. If you discipline yourself to exercise, you develop more energy for your wake. If you discipline yourself to control your spending, you build confidence in your ability to manage your future. Discipline creates a ripple effect that transforms your entire lifestyle. That's why the most successful people in the world all have one thing in common. They master themselves before they mastered anything else. And that's exactly why it's powerful. Because discipline is not about proving something to others. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about building private victories, the kind no one sees, but that silently build a foundation for your public victories later. Every champion was disciplined long before they were celebrated. Every success story is written in the quiet hours when no one is watching. And here's the kicker. The moment you understand this, you stop craving shortcuts. You stop waiting for motivation to strike. You stop expecting overnight results. Instead, you fall in love with the process. You realize that success is not built on sudden bursts of effort, but on steady, disciplined commitment. You stop asking, how long will it take? And start asking, how far can I go if I never stop? That mindset shift alone is worth everything. Because once discipline becomes who you are, nothing can stop you. Part 2, the silent battle within. The greatest enemy you will ever face is not the world outside, but the voice inside your head that whispers excuses. That voice tells you to take it easy, to skip today, to wait for tomorrow. It tells you that you deserve a break, that it's too hard, that no one will notice if you stop. That voice is powerful, and most people obey it without question. They mistake comfort for happiness, and because of that, they live lives of quiet frustration. The secret weapon against that voice is self-discipline. Discipline is not about silencing the voice forever. It's about refusing to let it control your actions. You hear it, but you don't obey. And with time, that voice grows weaker until you realize it was never as strong as you thought. It was only as strong as your willingness to listen. Think about it this way. Every time you give in to the easy option, you train yourself to quit. You condition your mind to choose comfort over growth. On the other hand, every time you choose discipline, you condition yourself to push through. You build a reputation with yourself, and that reputation matters more than anything else. If you constantly break promises to yourself, you stop believing in your own words. You say you'll change, but deep down you know you won't. But when you keep your promises, when you follow through on your commitments, you begin to see yourself differently. You trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, your confidence grows. Confidence is not built by empty affirmations. It's built by discipline, by proving to yourself again and again that you can rely on your own actions. Discipline is also about making decisions before the moment of weakness arrives. When you leave decisions up to your moods, you will always choose a path of least resistance. But when you commit in advance, When you decide who you are and what you do regardless of circumstances, the choice is already made. For example, if you tell yourself, I will go to the gym 3 times a week no matter what, then when the day comes and you feel tired, you don't negotiate with yourself. The decision was already made days ago. Discipline removes negotiation, and that's what gives it power. Because every time you negotiate with yourself, you give excuses room to grow. Every time you hesitate, you allow weakness to creep in. Discipline shuts the door on weakness before it has a chance to speak. But don't think discipline is only about hard work or sacrifice. Discipline is also about protection. It protects your time from being stolen by distractions. It protects your energy from being wasted on negativity. It protects your future from being sabotaged by your present impulses. When you practice discipline, you are not just working harder. You are building shield that guard your focus, your goals, and your purpose. Imagine trying to fill a bucket with water while holes are drilled into it. No matter how much water you pour in, it leaks out. That's what life without discipline looks like. You may have big dreams, but without discipline, those dreams leak away. Discipline is the act of sealing the holes so your effort doesn't go to waste. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow, they'll eat healthier. Tomorrow, they'll study. Tomorrow, they'll save money. But tomorrow never comes, because tomorrow turns into another tomorrow, and another after that. The truth is that you will never suddenly feel ready. You will never suddenly feel motivated. The perfect time will never arrive. The only time you ever have is now, and discipline is what allows you to act now, even when you don't feel like it. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for lightning to strike. It might come, but you can't depend on it. Discipline is the engine you control, the force that keeps moving regardless of the weather. There is also a dangerous myth that discipline kills joy. People think that if they restrict themselves, they will be miserable. But the reality is the opposite. Lack of discipline kills joy because it leaves you feeling guilty, unaccomplished, and out of control. True joy comes from knowing you are living in alignment with your goals. Think about the satisfaction you feel after finishing a workout, after sticking to a budget, after completing a task you didn't want to start. That satisfaction is deeper than any temporary pleasure. Pleasure fades quickly, but pride in yourself lasts. Discipline replaces shallow happiness with lasting fulfillment. And here's the beauty of it. Discipline is contagious. When you see yourself exercising control in one area, you naturally want to expand it to others. For example, if you discipline yourself to wake up early, you might also start eating better. If you discipline yourself to save money, you might also discipline yourself to invest in your learning. Each small act of discipline strengthens the entire system of your life. Over time, discipline becomes part of your identity, and that identity reshapes everything. You no longer say, I want to be disciplined. You say, I am disciplined. And when that identity takes root, it becomes harder to quit than to keep going. Let's face it, life will always test you. There will always be stress, distractions, and setbacks. Without discipline, these obstacles knock you down and keep you down. With discipline, you may stumble, but you won't stay down. You've trained yourself to rise again. That's why disciplined people seem unshakable. It's not that their lives are easier. It's not that they never feel tired or discouraged. It's that they built resilience through countless small battles won in silence. Every day they choose a harder path. They become stronger, and that strength carries them through storms that would crush others. Discipline also teaches patience, and patience is a secret ingredient of success. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, patience is rare. We want results now. We want recognition now. We want rewards now. But meaningful success takes time, and discipline is what keeps you moving when results are invisible. It's easy to work hard when progress is obvious, but real discipline is shown when you keep going even when nothing seems to change. The seed you planted hasn't grown yet, but you water it anyway. The progress feels slow, but you trust the process anyway. Discipline is a faith to keep moving without immediate proof, and eventually, that faith pays off in ways that shock the undisciplined. At its core, discipline is not just about actions, it's about identity. It's about deciding the kind of person you want to be and living in alignment with that decision. When you tell yourself, I am someone who follows through, then every choice you make is measured against that identity. Skipping the workade isn't just skipping the workade. It's breaking your identity. Overspending isn't just overspending. It's betraying your future self. Procrastinating isn't just procrastinating. It's living out of alignment with who you said you are. Discipline keeps your actions aligned with your identity, and that alignment creates confidence, clarity, and power. And when you live with discipline, something incredible happens. Opportunities start to find you. People notice reliability. They notice consistency. They notice commitment. The disciplined person becomes trusted, respected, and admired, not because of talent alone, but because of their ability to deliver. The world rewards those who show up, and discipline ensures you always do. Opportunities that slip past the lazy are caught by the disciplined. Success that feels impossible to the distracted becomes inevitable to the focused. Discipline creates momentum, and once momentum builds, life becomes easier, not harder. So understand this. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're casting a vote for the future you want. Every time you resist the easy path, you're proving to yourself that you are capable of more. Every disciplined action is a brick in the foundation of your success. At first, the bricks don't seem to matter. The foundation looks invisible. But one day, when the structure of your dream stands tall, you'll realize it was built brick by brick, act of discipline by act of discipline, choice by choice. That's a silent battle within, and the only way to win it is through the relentless practice of self-discipline. Part 3. The price and the prize. Every choice you make is a price. You pay a price for discipline, and you pay a price for the lack of it. The question is not whether you will pay. The question is which price you are willing to pay. If you practice discipline, the price is discomfort, effort, sacrifice, and delayed gratification. If you avoid discipline, the price is regret, weakness, wasted potential, and dreams that never come true. Either way, the bill always arrives, and you cannot escape it. The only difference is that the price of discipline is temporary, while the price of regret lasts forever. Regret is heavier than any workade, stricter than any budget, and more painful than any rejection. You may avoid discipline today because it feels tough, but years later, you'll look back and wish you had suffered a little discomfort instead of living with the crushing weight of what could have been. People rarely regret the workouts they finished, the books they read, the money they saved, or the hours they invested in growth. What they regret is the laziness, the procrastination, the distractions, and the wasted opportunities. Regret is permanent, and discipline is temporary. If you must suffer, why not choose a suffering that builds you rather than the one that destroys you? Here's the truth that most people ignore. Discipline is not punishment. It is the entry fee for greatness. Imagine you want to enter a beautiful, exclusive place, the kind that promises freedom, wealth, health, and confidence. The door is open to everyone, but there's a sign at the entrance that says, admission, self-discipline required. Most people walk away because they don't want to pay the price. They want the rewards without the effort. They want the results without the grind. But life does not work that way. Life rewards the disciplined, not the wishful. The prize belongs to those willing to pay upfront in sweat, time, and sacrifice. Think of anyone you admire, an athlete, a successful entrepreneur, a great leader, even a family member who seems to have their life together. Behind their results is discipline. The athlete trains when no one watches. The entrepreneur works while others sleep. The leader reads, learns, and grows long before anyone follows them. The parent who provides stability wakes up every day and does the hard work even when exhausted. Discipline is the invisible thread running through every story of success. Without it, dreams remain fantasies. With it, fantasies become reality. But discipline is not only about building success, it's about protecting it once you achieve it. Many people reach a goal only to lose it because they stop being disciplined. They get fit, then let old habits return. They build wealth, then waste it recklessly. They grow a career, then stop learning. Discipline is not a one-time payment. It's a lifetime commitment. It is a constant practice of choosing what matters over what is easy. The moment you stop paying the price of discipline, you start paying the price of decline. And yet, discipline is not as terrifying as it sounds. It is not endless suffering. The hardest part of discipline is the beginning, when your old habits fight back and your comfort zone pulls you in. But once you build momentum, discipline becomes easier. Your body adjusts, your mind adapts, your identity shifts. What once felt like punishment begins to feel normal, and what once felt impossible begins to feel natural. The workout becomes part of your routine. The study session becomes part of your day. The act of saving money becomes automatic. Discipline transforms from an external force you push on yourself into an internal habit that guides you effortlessly. That's the beauty of discipline. The more you practice it, the less effort it takes. At first, every step feels heavy. You have to fight your urges, silence your excuses, and push against resistance. But over time, resistance weakens. The habit becomes who you are. You no longer ask, "Do I feel like it?" You simply act, because action has become your identity. And when action is your identity, success is no longer a distant dream. It's an inevitable outcome. Still, many people ask, is it worth it? Is the price of discipline really worth the effort? The answer is always yes, because the prize is freedom. Freedom from guilt, freedom from regret, freedom from wasted potential, freedom to design your life instead of being dragged by it, freedom to say yes to opportunities because you prepared yourself, freedom to trust yourself because you proved you could. The undisciplined person looks at discipline and sees chains, but the disciplined person looks at the undisciplined and sees prison bars. The truth is simple. You are either a prisoner of your impulses or a master of your actions. Discipline decides which one you become. The prize of discipline also shows up in the way others see you. People may not notice your small acts of discipline daily, but over time, they notice the results. They notice your reliability, your strength, your consistency, your growth. Opportunities come to you because people trust disciplined individuals. They know you'll show up. They know you'll deliver. Discipline builds a reputation that opens doors talent alone cannot. And beyond external recognition, discipline shapes how you see yourself. It creates pride, confidence, and a deep sense of self-respect that no one can take away. That inner reward is greater than any applause from the outside world. Let's be honest, discipline is not easy. There will be days you feel exhausted. There will be moments you want to quit. There will be times when the easier path calls louder than the harder one. But remember this, discipline is not about being perfect. It's about persistence. It's not about never slipping. It's about getting back up when you do. The disciplined person is not flawless. They are resilient. They stumble like everyone else, but they rise faster because they refuse to let failure define them. Every time they return to their discipline, they strengthen it, and every return builds character. When you live with discipline, you start to realize something profound. The process itself is a reward. The growth you experience along the way, the pride you feel in yourself, the strength you build, it's all part of the prize. Discipline is not just about the destination. It's about the person you become while walking the path. The undisciplined person stays the same year after year, repeating the same mistakes, telling the same stories, living the same regrets. The disciplined person evolves, expands, transforms. They are not the same person they were a year ago, and a year from now, they won't be the same as today. Discipline ensures growth, and growth is life. So yes, discipline demands a price. It asks you to sacrifice comfort, delay pleasure, and face challenges head-on. But in exchange, it gives you a prize that far outweighs the cost. It gives you strength, freedom, confidence, success, and most importantly, a life without regret. And when you weigh the price against the prize, the choice becomes clear. Pay now in discipline, or pay later in regret. The bill always comes due, but only one payment leaves you richer. Part 4. Turning discipline into identity. The real breakthrough with self-discipline doesn't come the first time you say no to temptation or the first time you push through discomfort. The breakthrough comes when discipline stops being something you force yourself to do and becomes who you are. At that point, you no longer think of discipline as a tool. You think of it as your identity. And identity is powerful because people live up to who they believe they are. When you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will keep struggling. When you see yourself as someone who quits, you will keep quitting. But when you see yourself as someone disciplined, reliable, and consistent, your actions naturally align with that image. You don't have to fight yourself as much because the battle is already won in your mind. You have decided who you are, and your decisions flow from that belief. That's why discipline is not just about habits. It's about reshaping the story you tell yourself. Every act of discipline is a vote for the person you want to become. When you wake up early, you cast a vote for being reliable. When you go to the gym, you cast a vote for being strong. When you resist spending recklessly, you cast a vote for being responsible. Each small action may seem insignificant on its own, but together they form a pattern, and patterns become identity. The more you cast those votes, the more convincing the story becomes, until eventually you don't just do disciplined things, you are a disciplined person. The beauty of identity-based discipline is that it creates momentum. Once you see yourself as disciplined, you act in alignment with that image, and every action reinforces it further. This feedback loop makes discipline easy over time, because you no longer ask, do I feel like it? Instead, you say, this is what I do, because this is who I am. A runner doesn't ask if they should run. They run because they are runners. A disciplined person doesn't ask if they should follow through. They follow through because that's their nature. When discipline becomes identity, the struggle fades and consistency becomes second nature. But here's something important. Identity doesn't change overnight. You can't declare yourself disciplined one morning and expect the world, or yourself, to believe it. Identity is built through repetition, through consistent proof. Every day you act in alignment with discipline, you strengthen that belief. Every time you choose a hard right over the easy wrong, you cement your identity. And over time, the shift becomes undeniable. You no longer need to convince yourself. You know it's true. You've built the evidence with your own actions, and evidence is stronger than belief alone. Of course, this doesn't mean you'll never slip. Even the most disciplined people face days when they fall short. But the difference is how they respond. The undisciplined person sees failure as proof of weakness. The disciplined person sees failure as feedback. They don't let one bad day erase their identity, because they know one moment does not define the whole. Instead, they get back up, return to discipline, and continue the pattern. That resilience is what makes them strong. It's not perfection that defines a disciplined person. It's persistence. Another key part of turning discipline into identity is aligning it with your values. If discipline feels like a chore, it's because you're not connecting it to something deeper. Discipline is not about random act of control. It's about directing your life toward what matters most. If you value health, discipline is eating right and exercising. If you value freedom, discipline is saving money and managing time. If you value growth, discipline is learning daily. Discipline without values feels like punishment, but discipline rooted in values feels like purpose. When you see discipline as a bridge to your highest values, you stop resisting it and start embracing it. Think about the difference between someone who goes to the gym just to lose weight and someone who goes to the gym because they see themselves as an athlete. The first person views discipline as a task. The second person views it as identity. Who do you think will stay consistent longer? The answer is clear. The first will give up when motivation fades, but the second will continue because it's simply who they are. That's a shift you must make in your own life. From seeing discipline as something external you push on yourself to seeing it as something internal that flows from who you are. It's also important to surround yourself with an environment that reinforces your identity. Discipline is easier when the people around you value it, too. If your friends are lazy, reckless, and careless, their behavior will pull you in the same direction. But if your environment is full of people who value growth, consistency, and responsibility, their example strengthens your own. Identity is shaped not just by your choices, but by the company you keep. Discipline is contagious, and so is a lack of it. Choose carefully which one you allow into your life. Now, some people worry that becoming disciplined means losing their spontaneity or joy. They fear becoming rigid, robotic, or boring. But the truth is that discipline doesn't remove joy, it enhances it. Discipline creates structure, and within that structure, you find freedom. For example, someone who disciplines himself financially may seem restrictive in the moment, but later they have the freedom to travel, invest, or pursue dreams others can't afford. Someone who disciplines their body may miss out on indulgences, but later they enjoy energy, health, and confidence others lack. Discipline is not the end of joy, it is a foundation of it. And once discipline becomes identity, it doesn't feel like suffering. It feels natural, almost effortless. That's why the most disciplined people often don't even describe themselves as disciplined. To them, it's not discipline, it's just life. It's simply what they do. That's the goal, to make discipline so integrated into your identity that you no longer see it as separate. It's not something you add on top of your life. It's the way you live. So the path is clear. If you want to truly master discipline, stop thinking of it as an external battle you fight every day. Start thinking of it as a story you tell about yourself. Every action you take is a line in that story. Every choice you make writes another page. The question is, what story are you writing? Are you writing the story of someone who gave into weakness, or the story of someone who rose above it? Discipline is a pen, and you are the author. Write wisely, because your future will read every word. Part 5. Discipline as a bridge to your future. When you look at the gap between where you are right now and where you want to be, it can feel overwhelming. Maybe your dream feels far away. Maybe the life you imagine seems unreachable. That's when most people give up, because the distance looks too big, too impossible. But the truth is simple. The bridge from your current reality to your future success is not luck, talent, or opportunity. It is discipline. Discipline is the one force that shrinks the impossible into possible, and the possible into reality. Think of discipline as a bridge you build, one brick at a time, with your daily actions. Every choice, every decision, every effort is another brick placed on that bridge. Some days, the bricks feel heavy. Some days, the work feels endless. But with every step, you are moving forward. The bridge may look incomplete for a long time, but eventually, through consistent discipline, it stretches far enough to take you across to the life you want. Those who lack discipline never finish building their bridge, and they remain stuck, watching others cross to success while they wait for motivation that never comes. Here's the harsh reality. Life will not wait for you. Time will keep moving, whether you use discipline or not. A year will pass, and you'll either look back proud of the bricks you laid each day, or you will look back full of regret, realizing that you let the days slip away. The difference between the two versions of you is discipline. That's why people say discipline weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. Carry the small weight now, so you don't break under the heavy burden later. Discipline is also what protects you from the traps of instant gratification. The world is full of distractions designed to steal your focus and your future. Social media, junk food, pointless entertainment. They all offer quick pleasure but rob you of long-term fulfillment. Without discipline, you fall into those traps again and again, losing time, energy, and self-respect. But with discipline, you rise above them. You train yourself to trade short-term comfort for long-term gain. You learn to say no to what feels good now, because you're committed to what will feel great later. And that single shift in mindset separates those who drift through life from those who create their destiny. The beauty of discipline is that it compounds over time. Just like money grows with compound interest, your small acts of discipline grow into massive results. Waking up early one day might not change your life, but waking up early for 365 days can. Choosing to exercise today won't transform your body overnight, but choosing to exercise for years will. Writing a single page may not make you an author, but writing every day will. Discipline turns small, invisible steps into visible, life-changing outcomes. And the longer you practice discipline, the faster the results multiply. Now, here's where most people misunderstand discipline. They think it's about restriction. They see it as cutting back, saying no, and forcing themselves into a smaller box. But in truth, discipline is expansion. It expands your opportunities, your freedom, and your power. The person who disciplines their money can afford freedom later. The person who disciplines their health can enjoy more years of energy and vitality. The person who disciplines their mind can create peace in chaos. What looks like limitation today is actually liberation tomorrow. Discipline is not about making life smaller. It's about making your future bigger. And perhaps the most powerful part of discipline is the respect it creates, not from others, but from yourself. When you live without discipline, you break promises to yourself every day. You say you'll wake up early, but you hit snooze. You say you'll eat better, but you give in. You say you'll focus, but you waste hours scrolling. Every broken promise eats away at your confidence until you stop trusting yourself. But when you live with discipline, you keep those promises. You say it, you do it, and every fulfilled promise strengthens your self-respect. That's how discipline builds unshakable confidence, because you know deep down that you can rely on yourself. Self-respect is the foundation of every great achievement. Without it, you chase validation from others, but never feel whole. With it, you no longer need approval, because you've already approved yourself. And the fastest way to build self-respect is through discipline. Not through words, not through wishful thinking, but through consistent action. Discipline proves to yourself that you are capable, reliable, and worthy of a success you desire. And when you truly believe that, there's nothing you can't accomplish. Of course, discipline isn't always glamorous. Most of the time, it looks boring. It looks like the person staying in to study while others go out. It looks like the person cooking a simple meal while others order takeout. It looks like the person grinding through practice while others relax. But that's exactly why discipline works. It separates you from crowd. While everyone else is distracted, you are focused. While everyone else is wasting, you are building. And eventually, the results speak so loudly that people can't ignore them. The disciplined person rises, not because of luck, but because of choices repeated daily, even when no one was watching. And when you finally arrive at your goals, you'll realize something profound. The true reward of discipline was not just the achievement. The true reward was who you became in the process. The stronger, wiser, more resilient version of yourself is worth more than any trophy, title, or recognition. Success may fade, but character lasts forever. Discipline shapes that character, molding you into the kind of person who doesn't just reach goals, but who continues to grow, adapt, and conquer new ones. That is why discipline is not a temporary practice. It is a lifelong companion. So the question is not whether you can achieve your dreams. The question is whether you are willing to pay the price of discipline. Because dreams are expensive, and the currency is consistency. If you pay daily, you will cross the bridge. If you refuse, you will stay stuck on the shore of what could have been. The choice is yours, and it's being made every day, in every decision, in every moment of weakness or strength. Your future self is waiting on the other side, but only discipline can carry you there. And as day 9 comes to a close, remember this. Motivation may get you started, but only discipline will finish the race. Every brick you lay, every step you take, every disciplined choice you make is shaping your tomorrow. The bridge is under construction, and you are the builder. Don't stop, don't settle, don't delay. Keep building, because the life you want is waiting, and discipline is the only path that leads to it. Tomorrow, in day 10, we'll unlock another truth about success, the power of patience. Because discipline builds a bridge, but patience gives you the strength to keep walking it until you reach the other side.